we're going to bring our lovely afternoon to a close, but not yet, because I'm very pleased to welcome back Bob Devereux, and we're delighted he's travelled up from St Ives, and can't be more pleased than to have this man in the room giving us his poetry.
Hawthorn, blackthorn, and tangled briar, and bramble that strangles the sapling trees. The spoil heaps of the sisters' minds are stained with verdigris. Wheel Kitty, wheel Margaret, wheel Mary, rang out an awesome tune. Down at dawn into darkness, and up in the light of the moon. And down to the lonely vixen's cry, and up again at noon with the dazzling sun in the man's tired eyes, blinding his passage home. Brief lives in the flickering candle flame, in the black and granite of the womb. No, black. In the black and black of the womb, the gin shop and the chapel, twin passions from till the tomb. In death a man was honoured, the crushers played his tune. Down, down at dawn into darkness, and up in the light of the moon. Sorry about that. I'm going to do St Ives Feast. Why not? 7 o'clock. The sea comes to feed. She feeds on the rock of the cliff and drinks from the stream and slips back over the shingle sands and slips back over the shingle sands to feed on the rock of the cliff. The sea is lapping against the cliff, and under the water the soft foot stomachs are feeding in the green, salt green. The limpets rasping the seaweed spawning from the rock while the tide is high in the blue, salt blue. And the old stingwinkle, a cannibal snail, ivory with age, drags herself over the rocks on her stomach, climbs aboard a purple top shell and begins to drill in the green, salt green. And the town yawns and comes downstairs and eats its cornflakes. On the tables in 1,000 houses, the breakfast cockerel crows with the milk and the newspapers, but at the guest house, the tables are laid and there's grapefruit on the menu, and the old stingwinkle is charging us extra for it. She's creaming off every penny she can. She's so jolly. Comes from Birmingham, almost a cannibal. The tourists come from Birmingham. And down in the depths, the old stingwinkle is drilling the purple top shell, making the first circular scar, cutting the first crescents of mother of pearl in the pretty thing. And if in the end you feel like an empty shell, you'll know why. 8 o'clock, up on the hill, another monster comes to life. Old Yellow Belly, coughing and spluttering, choking out acrid fumes, the cement mixer, and concrete eats another acre. Retiring people, hungry for sea views, bumped into the landscape with bungalows, greedy to feast their eyes on the sea, chew into the skyline with boxes of picture windows, spreading them around the perimeter of the town on all the high vantage places, the windows winking obscenely in the light of the sun. And behind the double glazing, the old eyes stare from the comfort of their tapestry armchair, unaware of what they've done. Blissfully unaware, they gaze in wonder at all that water, stare at the wonder of all that ocean. And the old stingwinkle is drilling the purple top shell. 9 o'clock, round the harbour, guns and women, The gulls, women for cackling, the women, gulls for gossip, screaming the morning scandal, half-digested fight over a smelly titbit. You must have heard them. Another party, 2 in the morning, couples all over the floor, orgy. More women come flapping, see her? She has a guts in her beak, screams, the policeman saw them. 20 unblinking golden eyes, 10 beaks poised to peck, making love, bathe the dustbins. Coarse cackle over the town. Scavenging gulls enjoy the dustbins. Not a stitch on. The bugger. And up they go, grey wings whirling, white wings flapping, wheeling and screaming over the town. Grey and white, white and grey, leaving their droppings on the roofs, and the women flap to the shops, hungry for an audience. From up here, gliding and sliding on currents of air, things look different. You can see the town spread out like a map, and people are rather reduced in size. In a house down there lives the bugger. This morning, playing Dylan, he empties his ashtrays. Playing Dylan, he collects up the glasses in a sweet sick haze at 11:30, a shambling wreck of himself. Endlessly drinking black coffee and dreaming of how they made love on the grass hanky in the backyard with a honeysuckle under the moon. All day in his window overlooking the bay, an artist paints simple geometry, drinks sake and nibbles stale saffron buns. Outside, the sea does the dance of 1,000 sequined suns and rocks red rubber dinghies in the harbour's arm, but he, the artist, dare not look. She, like a mad tashist, paints the whole bay with great splashes of ice blue and indigo, but he, the artist, dare not look. And in the deep dark by Smeaton's pier, she pours great pools of Hooker's green, but he, the artist, has not seen. He stands, a starving man, in the barrel mouth of a Horn of Plenty, with his back to all its riches. The sea sings in his ears. She's caked his hair with salt spray, but he feasts his eyes on a single grey square. In a rock pool, a sea anemone, like a beautiful flower, devours a small fish. And on Smeaton's, a visitor in a white Panama cries, I too am, and sets up his easel, and Dad says, look out, he's an artist. And they all go home to tea with the stingwinkle. Air, essential in every artist's repertoire, the space between, real, intangible. We slice lines in air with our bodies and brushes and batons and pens, make a pause pregnant, leave it hanging, set air vibrating between complementary colours, string out moments, find the still centre, circumnavigate it, make an imaginary balloon, give it to our audience. It floats, look, look, floats. How long do you think I should do?
You've been going for about 10 minutes, I think.
10
minutes?
Oh,
10 minutes or so?
okay, another 10 minutes, right, yeah. So that's good then. Right, so where do I go next? An old one. We ran up Snowdon, Eve and I, in a swirling mist, leaping from slab to slippery slab, leaving behind the crocodile conformity, trudging in twos up the easy path. 100 pair of centipede legs in thick woolen socks and stout walking shoes, happy and laughing at us to see us so happy to be wasting so much energy. But we ran on over the rocks, and soon the laughter was left far behind. Once she slipped and I caught her. My arm brushed her breast. We held hands after, so I could support her if she fell again. It was good to be with her then. Her eyes bright, her face flushed, her body strained against the slope. I thought perhaps she was meant for me then. We ran in a blanket of mist until the sun broke through. Its splendour made me blink. Perhaps it was then, I think it was then, that the distance between us grew suddenly. We sat, a photographer's sepia, our backs against a boulder, gazing at the view. Lakes, valleys, a river, and a ribbon of road 1/10 of an inch across. I remember the slope was a litter of stones. In despair I said, "Can I kiss you?" She said, "No." And then came the crocodile, chucked down haversacks, pulled out sandwiches and booze and laughed. Bloody laughed at us. Bloody laughed at us to see us so happy to be wasting so much. Wasting so much. Flowers in a vase. Flowers in a vase. Really, Flowers in a Vase started because I was painting some poppies in a sauce bottle. and I realised that they weren't staying still for me. They were moving with the sun outside the window. I was sitting in the craft market and painting them on a day which had been wet as much as sunny. And I'd put them in the bottle and I was painting in the craft market, and they began to turn with the sun. And so I wrote a poem about that. And then I realised that there could be a lot of poems about flowers in a vase, really, and different ways of looking at them. And so I launched into what I thought would become a book, and making references to different painters as well who had painted flowers in vases, or different flowers in vases that painters had painted. But this is what I'm left with now, is this little group. These flowers in this vase turn to the sun. Though cut, they live for light. They writhe clockwise. The struggling spiral contortionists writhe silent. The pale stalks, blind, gropers after goodness in tap-water worlds. Some droop, mourning their severed roots. One by one, the beautiful petals fall. It is a slow, unnatural end. These same flowers in this same vase blaze colours, explode rooms with rainbows, sing the song of the cornucopia, promise plenty, a rich harvest for men. These flowers leap from this vase into the arms of lovers who fly through casement windows without sound. Over the sills they bound to spoon around beneath the stars, free in their love to leave the plain Jane world behind for the tame, sane, worldly blind who never find a way beyond reality to dream. She is an orchard, pink and white, apple-breasted, a green virgin, a regular pippin to be picked, 17, but only been kissed. He is a proud dreamer who flies his hair like a flag. He rises as a poet should to such a girl. The guitar man plays tunes from home to make love by. Go, mischief makers, match each other, stride for stride, all the loving way into the starlit sky. Lie close and glimpse eternity. Leave only these flowers in this vase, in this room, for me. Leave only these flowers in this vase for me. Leave only these flowers, please. I'm getting older. I'm 78 now. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this one. Do come back and yeah. Yeah. Yes. Some years ago, I went to do some recording at Morgan, which is a little bit beyond St Ives, towards Land's End, and the chap who was running the recording studio and I and his wife had a meal afterwards, and we started talking about things. And one of the things we talked about was phases. He'd been on the road as a guitarist and gone around the concert halls and things when there were a lot of comedians there, and he was talking about the raddled phases of older comedians and how memorable they were for him and how meaningful. And I listened to all this, and when I got home, after I'd gone to bed, I woke up suddenly remembering phases that had influenced me in the past, including, well, one of them is when I was turning pages of a very big book in bed when I was about 8, and I found a picture of Sitting Bull, and I wanted to be like him. And then just about the time that I made the decision to move to Cornwall, I saw a picture of Barbara Hepworth, and I thought that this face with all its lines was beautiful. Anyhow, this is the poem. You'll hear that and a bit more. There's only 3 faces listed in it, plus me. But here we go. Sitting Bull, Auden, Hepworth and me, a boy of 8, idly turning pages, propped up on pillows, convalescing, sandwiched between a mattress and a weight of books, chanced on a portrait of an Indian. The subject was a chieftain in full feather, the profile of an eagle and an eagle's gaze. And then there was his skin, so tanned, like leather, crazed like the valley of some dried up river. That face slipped into this child's subconscious and lodged itself amongst the folds of memory. A face to conjure with. It lives there to this day. It was a map of Sitting Bull's existence, an emblem of his wisdom and his age. But it was more than that. It had such dignity, that dreamed of face I coveted for me. Auden. I was at art school when I saw his photograph. My friend said, "Do you know your Auden? Have you read him?" Hadn't read him. But I knew that face. That tracery of furrows ploughed so deep. It was a face I'd seen in sleep. It was a dreamed of face. Oh, so much life must live within a face like that. So much living fat and living lean. It was a knowing face. Not just a poet's face, much more. A history. And there was Hepworth. Have you seen her portrait in the museum case? downstairs before you step into her garden. Now there's a face. Well, I saw that picture, or one much like it, in some catalogue or in some exhibition not long before I moved down here from London. I thought it was the best thing in the place. Salt air, and marble dust, and drinking, screwing the eyes up, letting the tips of fingers do the work, and walking on the moors out in all weathers and pain, and caring, and not taking care, and not caring enough about herself, and smoking. I almost missed out smoking. All this and more had made the man she wore. But in that rack of lines there is a knowing. It's the same face. And then there's me. I'm 78. I'm gazing in the mirror. The crow's feet are advancing. But I'm not ready. I've seen some lean years, but I haven't had the fat. I have not spent enough time looking at the sun. Can I be 8 again? Oh, please. Let it be simple. Let me be dreaming of these marks. I coveted a face, but I'm not ready. No, it's not me yet, that dreamed of face. Sitting Bull, Auden, Hepworth, but not me. No, not me. Oh, please, not me. One more. Yeah, one more. Yeah. I was sitting on a railway train waiting for it to leave the station, well, St Ives, and looking out of the window, and I saw a black dog on the beach running about, and it was in the winter and the beach was absolutely clear. There was nothing there at all except the marks that this dog was making. And I thought, when the tide comes in, all that record of what the dog has done will disappear, but for the moment it's beautiful. And so I wrote this. Black speck of dog, running mad, four-pawed frenzy, chasing gulls, shadows, marks boundaries with each rush, maps out great areas of sand, takes possession with 4 flaying feet, finds Bolton, digs hole, creates own world in sand space, till the next tide, till the next tide, till the next tide. Huff, 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 huff. Small green crab sidling sideways over the boneyard of his ancestors, encounters a squeezy bottle. Nothing is ever perfect. Huff, huff.
Would you like to small, not very small one, well, maybe?
I'm trying to think what might be a good short one to do, in that case. Another very small one. Oh, I can't. Can I think?
Dog walking haikus? The dog walking haikus?
Oh, there's so many of them. I can't think of one that's perfect.
That Morris room.
Yeah, oh, well, I could do that. Yes, well, of course, that's not truly. This is not truly a poem of mine, but the story of this is that a lot of the words come from a book called The Journal of a Disappointed Man by W.M.P. Barbellion, which was a pseudonym for a chap who died during the First World War. He was not fit to go and fight and died during the First World War. You can find out all about him if you look him up. W.M.P. Barbellion. But anyhow, in this journal, he wrote about his failures in life. He wrote 2 books actually. The other one was about happy things that had happened to him, and that didn't sell very well at all, but this one sold 4 editions, and it had a foreword by H.G. Wells, which probably helped it too. But it's a very beautiful book. The Journal of a Disappointed Man by Barbellion. It's worth looking for. It's fantastic. It's a classic, really. And in it, there are a lot of pages devoted to his wooing of a dentist's daughter, and going to the house to see her. And in this house there was a very perfect double cube room, I imagine. He called it the Morris room, so it would have been full of William Morris wallpaper and arts and crafts furniture and so on. And I went to, I accompanied a guitarist, songwriter, friend of mine, I escorted him when he went to see a girl in a caravan, because he was a very shy young man and he wanted me to be with him. In 1970, this was, I know the year, and we went up to her caravan, and he was explaining that I wrote words and he wrote songs occasionally, but he accompanied me on guitar, and he said we can make something, you see, just like that. And I happened to have this book with me, so when he said show it, Bob, and I turned to the book, because she looked a little bit like the girl that Barbellion was describing. She was pale and she had dark hair, and that was the beginning of Morris Room. So we arrived at a chorus and a lot of stuff that came out of the diary and that I scanned and made work, just like that, in this caravan during the course of an afternoon and performed. Later on I realised that there was more to be done with this, and I added some other bits to it, and this is the way it goes now. November the 9th, Ludo. We played Ludo together this evening and she won 2 and 6pence. Handsomely gowned in black and wearing black ornaments, she sat with me in the lamplight, on the sofa, in the Morris room, with the Ludo board between us placed on a large green cushion. Her face was as white as parchment, and her hair seemed an ebony black. We were in the Morris room together, in the lamplight, on the sofa. We made such a charming picture. We should stay this way. Her face was as white as parchment, and her hair seemed an ebony black. I lolled in the opposite corner, a thin, elongated youth, with fair hair all stivered up, dressed in a light brown lounge suit, with a good trouser crease, a white shirt, with a soft linen collar and a red tie. I was being political. We were in the Morris room together, in the lamplight, on the sofa. We made such a charming picture. We should stay this way. Between us on its green cushion, the Ludo board, with its brilliantly coloured squares, reds and blacks and greens together, all of it set before a background formed by the straight-backed, rectangular, settle-like sofa with its charming covering that went with the rest of the scheme. We were in the lamplight, on the sofa, in the Morris room together. We made such a charming picture. We should stay this way. Rather decorative, she murmured, in an audible voice, turning her head on one side and quizzing me. I can well believe it was. She looked wholly beautiful sitting there, her pale face framed by her dark hair in a lamplight on the sofa in the Morris room. She looked like a Dresden figurine, so fragile, untouchable, untouchable. We were in the Morris room together, in the lamplight on the sofa. We made such a charming picture. We should stay this way. It's at moments like these that a poor aesthete like me has a bit of choice. I could have kissed her. I should have kissed her. I would have kissed her, but I didn't want to spoil the tableau, so I let my chances fly out of the window. Oh, what a wonderful memory I'll cherish, but what a fantastic experience I've almost certainly missed. We were in the Morris room together in the lamplight on the sofa. We made such a charming picture. We should stay this way. There's a moral here for all young lovers. Never let a Ludo board come between you and a loved one. Take your chances when they're offered to you. Grasp them with both hands. Come, touch. Be touched. The one true test. Touch and be touched. Lips and fingers pressed. Sense life through touch. Find reality. Come, touch. Be touched. Without touch, fantasy. Just fantasy. Just fantasy.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Bob. And the CDs are available. The Morris room is available on the little blue one here.
It's on two of them there.
It's on two of them. That's a good one.
That's a very nice version of
music.
it. And it's only £3, that.
Okay, I just want to thank all the open mic poets. I'm going to give you their names. Then a round of applause, please. We have John Hurley, Norman Bright, Frank Crocker, Paul, Graham Brown, Janko Moon, Rachel Wolfe. Our featured poets this afternoon, P.R. Murray. And a man from the other end of the country, delighted he was here this afternoon, Bob Devereux.
Thank you for being a very nice woman. Yeah. Bearing with me missing a few things.